What's up YouTube? This is Victor with Let Me Explain Show, and today we're going to print this stencil, use the stencil to print on a t-shirt using a basic household sponge. So this is just a regular sponge from a seat cushion that I pulled up, and I like this rather than the sponge brush because I have more control of the process, as you will see just now. So this is just a regular sponge. It's nice and clean. I've got an ashtray sorry, I've got a paint tray here, a palette. I'm just using an old palette. It's dry so that I don't get any mixture. And for my paint, I've got Speedball fabric paint. So make sure it's fabric paint and not acrylic paint, because acrylic is not the best for fabric printing. There is a designated fabric paint for that, so I recommend you use that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get organized over here, and what I'm going to do is get a piece of paper, any piece of paper, and put it inside your t-shirt. That way your ink doesn't bleed to the other side. Once that's done, make sure your t-shirt is nice and flat. And one last thing I forgot is tape. We'll need tape in a second. So we're gonna go ahead and open up our design. So that's our stencil. It's a map of the US. It says you're here. It's got the compass on the top, and the tape comes in handy to hold the stencil in place. So before I continue, it's vital to have the tape in place so that it helps you keep your stencil in place. And make sure that you have your stencil the right way up, so the words read like normal. So you might just absentmindedly have it upside down. Need a spatula. A good thing to have around is a spatula. You can pick one up from the dollar store, or you can just use an old one. And this technique doesn't use much ink, so I will actually get very little ink. About that much should do the job. As a matter of fact, I changed my mind on the palette. I'll use an x-ray plate to mix my ink on. So firstly, I'll lay it out, and then what you want to do is take your sponge. Make sure you got a nice handle on it, and you got a nice flat surface over there, and then dip it into your ink. Just dab it into your ink. Try not to spread your ink all the way around, otherwise you're just wasting it. It dries up. Now this is what you want your sponge to look like. You want it to have absorbed most of the ink, and not like this. If you have it like this, it's too much ink on the sponge at the moment, and it will go under the stencil and cause bleeding. So get rid of that by having the sponge soak the paint in, the ink in, until it's something like that. Right, we're gonna put this aside for now, and so we're ready to go. So we're gonna start on this side. I'm left-handed, so I like to move in the opposite direction. Over here I can see a problem already where I might go over the stencil, so I'm gonna get some paper just to protect that edge, and then I will gently dab. Just start by gently dabbing and going into the corners. Not too much pressure, just enough, just a touch in the lift. Touch, lift, touch, lift, touch, lift, touch, lift. Just like that. So as you can see, the effects of it are that in some areas it's super light because I haven't put too much ink in there. You can use that as an effect, Oopsie, I got some ink on myself. Just like that. And I prefer to go light first and then I'll go over again to make it more vibrant. So I've covered the whole design, but it's still very light, so that's the first coat. So what I'll do is get more ink and do the second run. And always close your paint jar. Always make sure to close your paint jar because otherwise it dries out if you're in a warm environment. And also it keeps contaminants out, so it's a good practice to always close your jar. Why I'm taking a little bit at a time is because I don't want to take out a bunch and then end up not using it, so I'd rather take out a little bit at a time and work that way. So this is where I'll leave it for now, and we will lift it in a couple of minutes. Just give it a couple of minutes to dry so that you don't smudge it when you lift. And lift. And lift. So my end got a little messed up because the paper under it didn't go all the way to the end. But generally, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too shabby. I could have done with a bit of more pressure on the stencil while holding it down. So that didn't work out as much as I wanted it to, but it's generally good enough. So that's how you use a stencil to print on a t-shirt. Next thing is I'm gonna give my tools a wash. Make sure you wash them thoroughly, and so that you can use them the next time. Alright, thanks so much for watching. This is Victor on the Let Me Explain show.